So are you aware, for example, that every prime minister in this country who is still living gets a full security detail for life? So people like John Major, who stopped being prime minister back in the mid-90s, 30 years ago, still gets a full security detail. Liz Truss, who was prime minister for 43 days, gets a full security detail and will do for the rest of her life. And that applies to many people that have held senior positions in public life in this country. So irrespective of what you think of Harry and Meghan, they are part of the royal family. They would have a target on their head. And surely they are as deserving of security details and security contacts as people like John Major, Boris Johnson, Liz Truss, and every other prime minister, Tony Blair, Gordon Brown, etc., etc. And therefore, taking that away from them just smacks of pettiness, bitterness, and has been done deliberately to shaft them. And I'm not a hypocrite. I don't believe that's the right way to go about things. I think it's petty and wrong to take away from them something that they clearly do need security, and to take away from them something that everyone else in public life at a senior level, and not even as senior as them, gets. And that's why, purely on this basis, not on everything else he's done, but purely on this particular argument, I think he's in the right. And I think he's got the right to have the be pissed off with his family, with the government, and with MI5, MI6, etc., who provide this security.
I'm Chloe, your host for today's discussion. Today, we delve into a recent revelation that has sent ripples across the pond. A British man, yes, a regular bloke, has had the audacity to speak out, to tell the truth, and to do so without the sensationalism that so often pervades our media. He's made a point so simple, so clear, that it's astounding we even have to discuss it. Prince Harry deserves security. That's right, our ginger prince, like every other senior public figure in Britain, deserves to feel safe. This shouldn't be a radical idea, but in post-Brexit Britain, where the press seems to thrive on scandal and outrage, it's become just that. This man, this voice of reason, has pointed out the glaringly obvious. Former prime ministers from Tony Blair to Boris Johnson, and even Liz Truss, who served less time as prime minister than a pot of tea takes to steep, are all afforded lifelong security. It's taxpayer-funded and without question, without debate or public shaming. But what of Harry? Born into the royal institution, a veteran of Afghanistan, a man who was literally targeted by the Taliban, publicly identified by extremist groups, and hounded by the media across the globe, is expected to walk around unprotected. It's a baffling conundrum, one that defies logic unless, of course, that logic is tainted with a dash of revenge and a sprinkling of pettiness. Our British man didn't stop there. He called out the UK government and royal establishment for their deliberate actions. Not a matter of policy, but a message. One that is as cold as it is clear. You left us, so we're going to make sure you never feel safe again. In the midst of a media frenzy, this man has managed to speak up with cold, clear, unfiltered logic. His words, a stark reminder of the blatant injustices that continue to plague the Sussexes. Stay tuned as we delve deeper into the unsettling implications of this revelation. But what does this revelation imply? Let's delve into that. This isn't merely an issue of security. It's a stark reflection of the lengths to which an institution will go to punish and isolate someone who dares to step out of line. The denial of protection for Prince Harry isn't just an oversight, it's a calculated move. A clear message from the UK government and the royal establishment to Harry that says, "You left us, and now we will make sure you never feel safe again." This isn't just about an individual's safety. It's about the powerful flexing their might, using fear as a tool to enforce conformity and exert control. It's about the attempt to make Harry pay for his audacity to marry a woman they couldn't control, to step out of the shadows of tradition and to choose a life of authenticity over pretense. The decision to withdraw security from Harry, a man who was born into the royal institution, who served his country, and who has been a target of extremist groups, is not just wrong, it's deliberate. It's a blatant display of an unfair system of punishment, a system that protects former prime ministers, regardless of their tenure, while leaving a man who dared to challenge the status quo vulnerable. Let's not forget Harry offered to foot the bill for his security. He didn't ask for handouts. He said, "I will pay for my own security." But they said no. They slammed the door in his face. Meanwhile, people who have cost the UK billions in bad decisions are being chauffeured around with full protection, sipping their lattes under armed guard. The question then is, where's the outrage? Why the silence from the masses? Why does the media choose to focus on the color of Meghan's outfits or her Instagram posts instead of this glaring injustice? This isn't just a protocol gone wrong, it's a deliberate act of ostracization. It's a grim reminder of the unsettling implications of challenging the status quo in a society that values tradition over justice. Now, let's talk about the unfair treatment that Harry has received. It's a story of stark contrasts and mind-boggling hypocrisy. Remember, Harry offered to foot the bill for his own security. He didn't ask for a handout, he didn't beg for help. He recognized the need for protection and was willing to take responsibility for it. But what did he get in return? A resounding no. A door slammed in his face, a refusal so blatant it was as if they were saying, "We don't want your money, Harry. We just want to make you feel unsafe." Now let's put this in perspective. We have people in the UK who have cost the country billions through their actions or inactions, people who have made decisions that have left the nation reeling. Yet they are chauffeured around in luxury, sipping their lattes under the watchful eyes of armed guards. They have full protection, funded by the very taxpayers whose lives they've affected. And here's Harry, a man who has served his country, a man who has been a target for extremist groups, a man who simply wants to live his life in peace. He's willing to pay for his own security, and yet he's denied this basic right. It's bewildering, it's infuriating, and quite frankly, it's unacceptable. But where's the outrage? Where's the public outcry over this blatant display of unfairness? The silence, my friends, is deafening. It's as if the public has become so numb to the drama, so indifferent to the injustice that they've lost their voice. It's a sad state of affairs when a man who has given so much to his country is treated with such disdain. It's a damning indictment of a system that claims to value fairness and equality, yet fails to uphold these values when it comes to one of their own. The silence from the public is deafening, isn't it? But why does this man's outburst matter? Let's find out. It matters because his words cut through the noise, the scandal, and the vitriol to reveal a truth that's been hiding in plain sight. In a world where the media is often more keen on stirring up controversy than conveying facts, this man's revelation is a refreshing dose of reality. His argument, free from the sensationalism that often clouds royal coverage, reminds us of a fundamental principle. The right to security isn't a privilege, it's a necessity, especially for public figures in the spotlight. His words echo the sentiments of James O'Brien, a broadcaster who has been fearlessly dismantling false narratives for years. Remember when O'Brien stood in his LBC studio and said, "I wouldn't have stayed either"? That statement, simple yet powerful, cut through the cacophony of criticism aimed at the Sussexes. It was a poignant reminder that Prince Harry's decision to step back wasn't about shirking duty. It was about escaping a system that was more interested in exploiting his personal life than in protecting his well-being. This brave British man and O'Brien, they're not just speaking out, they're challenging the status quo. They're demanding accountability from a media industry that often seems more interested in clicks and ad revenue than in the truth. They're reminding us that we shouldn't accept the narrative that's handed to us without question, that we should demand better for the Sussexes and for all public figures who find themselves in the crosshairs of sensationalist journalism. Their words matter because they're a call to action. They're a plea for a media landscape that values integrity over scandal, truth over sensationalism, and the welfare of its subjects over the allure of ad revenue. They're a reminder that we, as consumers of media, have the power to demand this change. In a media landscape twisted by agenda and ad revenue, voices like these are not just essential, they're revolutionary. Let's not forget why we're here. The struggles of the Sussexes. Prince Harry, the man who once walked the gilded halls of Buckingham Palace, chose to step away from the royal institution that had been his life since birth. But his departure was not a simple act of rebellion or a thirst for freedom. It was a desperate plea for safety, for respect, for truth. Harry and Meghan's decision to break away from the royal family was not taken lightly. It was the result of years of scrutiny, of relentless media attention, of a system that seemed more interested in preserving its image than protecting its own. Harry didn't leave because he wanted to. He left because he had to. In his heartfelt plea, Harry asked for nothing more than what any of us would want, safety and truth. He didn't ask for special treatment. He didn't demand privileges. He simply asked for the right to live his life without fear, without the constant threat of danger. And yet, despite his pleas, despite his willingness to fund his own security, he was turned away. The door was closed on him, not because he was undeserving, but because he dared to challenge the status quo. But let's be clear, Harry didn't express his grievances with hatred or resentment. His words were a simple request for understanding, for compassion, for respect. Harry didn't walk away from duty. He walked away from abuse. As we draw this discussion to a close, let's not forget the importance of standing up for what's right, for truth and fairness. The Sussexes deserve our unwavering support and understanding. Let's keep this conversation going. Let's question, let's debate. Every voice matters in shaping a more balanced narrative. Thank you for tuning in to Royal Telly. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Until next time, this is Chloe signing off.